Well, hello everyone. You have right here of talking about whenever it comes to you know when it comes to working on something, and I could just say this to where that whenever it comes to guessing, and a lot of times it sure seems that way that whenever you do guess an answer to a situation, or if you just take a clue guess or something like that, I'm like half the time you always wonder if there's different ways of how to describe guess, right? And but still, that talk about right here is what does it usually mean when we do guess something? And a lot of times it sure seems that way. That yeah, well, you're not exactly sure what the positives are until you do look closely at it, right? So a lot of times it sure seems that way that when we do take a guess on something, and let's just say that if it is a pine cone, or maybe if it's something maybe from a tree, I'm like, yeah, from the apple tree or something like that. But still, that when we take a lucky guess on something, that most of the time it's mainly proven that to where that yeah, you go ahead and call the answer before you it's actually recognized. So a lot of times everybody might even say too that whenever you do talk about a lucky guess right here, that you're thinking is toward, okay, yeah, that how do you really even know the situation before it actually happens, and how do you really even know if this is a pine cone tree? How do you even know if I say, yeah, unless if you look closely at it, you would not even know what it is. But still, what I have right here is the sketches right here, and like everybody might say that, yeah, you walk up to a tree right here, and that you might find to see what's on there, right? And people may want to know too that, yeah, you walk up to the tree, this is what it looked like whenever you seen it within a distance, but whenever you walked up closer to it, and then that's whenever you saw they had pine cones on there. And so a lot of times everybody may say is toward it, yeah, that whenever you do guess something, then a lot of times it seems like that you try to assume what you expect to see, what you expect to get as soon as you get there. And but you see right here is this talk about the pine cone right here. But still, that what does it usually mean when we do guess something? And a lot of times that we think is this toward, okay, yeah, that whenever you take a guess on something that you're guessing is toward it, you're not sure exactly what you find. You're not exactly sure what you actually see, but until you look closer at it, right? So a lot of times it sure seems that way. That yeah, is guessing the same thing as thinking. Like everybody might even think too that is to where, yeah, well, whenever you do guess, by the way, that it's not really the same thing as guessing. As yeah, it's not the same thing as thinking, and you're not really using your brain. Whenever you do guess something. So a lot of times everybody say that, yeah, well, whenever you do guess something, by the way, what the results that you're calling out is toward, yeah, the first thing that comes to your mind, and usually that's usually what it means, right? But still, that when we do talk about guessing something, that pretty much means is toward it, yeah, that it's another example of like it's an idea, a clue, an idea for what comes to your mind. And so, what exactly are you thinking about whenever you guess something? And everybody might say, yeah, well, if it's really about what you feel, maybe what you see, and maybe what you sense a lot of times. So maybe any doctor might even say that a lot of these senses, they don't really know what that person feels, what that person is looking at. They don't really know. This person may not even know who the other person is, so that's why it seems that way toward it. You draw sketches of touching the pine cone, and another thing that I want to point out right here. This right here is with your left hand, and most of the time, people might say that, yeah. So if you were to answer that question toward, okay, yeah, that this right here, you're using your left hand to pick up the pine cone. You're using your left hand to guess what this is right here. But if you use your right hand, then chances are that you'll have a little bit more positive results, right? So in case of the doctor were to ask you about that, toward it, what exactly is it? Do you show better results whenever you use your left hand to pick something up than compared to your right hand? And I know a lot of people probably don't think about it that way, but whenever you walk up to a tree or walk up to a bush or anything, that you walk up, take a closer look at something, and you're thinking that, okay, yeah, that why do you think that people take the time to use their left hand to pick something up, to look closer at it? Why do you think that it helps out a lot to use your left hand? Use your left hand to recall what this is right here. Even if it's a coin, if it's a any source of object, right? Any source of object that. Why do you think that it would make a difference whenever you use your left hand compared to your right hand? And people might say that, well, for sure, that you may be able to get a different sense than compared to your right hand. And like you said, that whenever you do pick things up with your right hand, that maybe you don't get the same sense as compared to your left hand. But still, that every time you think about that, you're warned to where, okay, yeah, was that with your left hand or your right hand? Because most of the time, whenever you do pick something up and you guess what it is, a lot of times whenever you do pick it up and just to see what it is, a lot of times it's with your left hand, right? You don't really pick anything up too much with your right hand. Mainly it's with your left hand. So in case of anybody's warned, if you were to use your right hand to pick something up and just to kind of recall to see what it is, chances are you're going to get different results, right? And a lot of times it's like, yeah, in your nervous system, right? And you think it's to where, okay, yeah, lucky guess right here. So if you were to pick it up with your left hand and try to take a guess, and pick it up with your right hand and try to take a guess, you may get different results whenever you do that. I guess I don't know if you want to call it the optic nerve or whichever, but still, that if we were to actually do the study, though, that you're thinking is toward, okay, yeah, that you actually find something on the tree, or you actually find something, out in the park or wherever, and find out that, okay, yeah, that if you want to take a lucky guess what it is, but still, that people might say, oh, pine cone, or maybe if it's an apple, or or something like that, or a flower. But still, that whenever we talk about a lucky guess right here, what you basically are saying is as to where you actually say it before you think about it. And I know a lot of teachers might say is toward it that's not really considered thinking. Whenever you learn about something, you're supposed to say what's in the notes, what's in the book, and you're supposed to study. But still, when we think about talking about lucky guess right here, it's another way of how you want to cause us toward it. Yeah, whenever you take a guess, by the way, that you're actually are thinking of an idea about, okay, yeah, I would like to guess what the answer is just because that I want to see how smart I am, and just by thinking as toward it, okay, yeah, I have a little bit better of an understanding about what this is, just because that I'm able to feel it, or maybe if you have a sense to where you got a feeling that okay, I think I do know what this is. So I guess there's a difference between that you think that you do know for sure what the object is, and compared to what you might know what it is or something. But still, that everybody might say if you were to actually put that to the test and want to know too that yeah, if you actually used your left hand to feel something, or to work on something, you may get different results than compared to using your right hand. So yeah, opening up the door, the closet door, or something like that, opening up a door. A lot of times you use your left hand to do that, right? You hardly ever use your right hand to open up a door. And in case of anybody's wondering that yeah, you use your right hand a lot of times maybe to open up the door. If you got your hands full of stuff or something like that. But still, that's something to think about. That why is it that maybe our mind gives us different results whenever it comes to taking a guess on something, and maybe whenever it comes to whenever we use our left hand and whenever we use our right hand to do things. And a lot of times people might say that yeah, if you're going to be picking something up then most of the time it's with your left hand, right? Whenever you do use your right hand to do something, you may think to where, okay, yeah, what does it matter? Why does it even matter if it's with my left hand or if with my right hand? Well, because for one, that you're able to remember. The last time you use this method right here, you're able to remember. You are able to remember. You remember very well of what you were doing, during the time. So everybody might say, yeah, going out to buy something from the store, going out to, carrying something, or maybe if it's you know, uh, learning how to do something. You remember very well because most of the time you use your left hand to do it. You use your left hand to do it. You use your right hand to go ahead and yeah, you may have used your right hand to pick up something heavy, but then you use your left hand to pick something up. So everybody might say that a lot of those skills that you use almost every day, but still you think is toward, okay, yeah, I really don't think about that too much at the time. I don't really think about that way toward, okay, was it with my left hand or with my right hand? But if you were to actually look at that in like a black and white picture right here, a sketch right here, that you see this right here, that the way I drew this right here. You got the palm of your hand, and then you got your hand as if you're actually holding something, but then you have right here is that whenever you actually find something, right? So if you were to walk up to a tree and actually see this right here, the way I drew this right here, these 3 steps right here of how you found this, and everybody might say, yeah, well, just to make the long story short, that I found this and I was looking at the apple tree or I was looking at the pine cone right here. But really, that everybody might say that you took a lucky guess and you were saying, oh, pine cone. But then you didn't really pay attention too much to where okay, what kind of pine cone is it? What kind of tree is it? Or what about the pine cone? But still, if you look at the pine cone right here, that I guess different ways of how you can tell on the pine cone that about what type of tree it is and about the pine cone and maybe about the season it is about the season or so. But still, taking a lucky guess of something and like everybody might say to yeah, it's the best way of how to refreshen your memory. And I really think that that's really the way to go to think about that is that everybody might say that whenever you guess something that you want to feel like the smartest person in the room, and you may say that, oh yeah, you're lucky guess. You're just going to go ahead and think about the first thing that you think about. Oh, pine cone. But still, whenever you find something though, it seems like that okay, did you use your left hand or your right hand just to be able to think about that? But still, whenever we think about lucky guess right here, it sure seems that way that you go ahead and speak up the answer before it's actually said. And a lot of people think about that if you want to feel like the smartest person in the room for sure, you're going to want to go ahead and speak up, what you think it is, and if you're right or if you're wrong. But still, if you are correct about something, and like everybody say that, yeah, a lot of people are going to give you a pat on the back if you're correct, and a lot of people, of course, are going to cheer for you if you are correct. But in a lot of ways that you think about that toward it, yeah, a lucky guess. Is that really a habit or just to know about how smart you are? Or like you say, it's easy to remember. And a lot of doctors will probably say is that, yeah, well, just think about that is like an easy way to remember. One way to remember what you were doing is just by is that you had the lucky guess right there. And so yeah, it's another source of identity, like to where yeah, I've been there, done that, but still, the way you think about though is yeah, that lucky guess. Is that another way of how to learn about something, or like everybody might say that it's a way to where that you're able to yeah, to speak up about something that the first thing that comes to your mind and you just say it. And so really, if that's really a force of habit or just everybody might say that yeah, you're just trying to think straight. You would like to think straight on something, and in order to be able to think straight, you guess something, and whenever you guess something, that's how you remember, right? Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone.